We will now commence with the reading of the proclamation.
The Easter Proclamation of the Irish Republic, 1916. The Provisional Government of the Irish Republic to the people of Ireland. Irish men and Irish women, in the name of God and the dead generations from which she receives her old tradition of nationhood, Ireland, through us, summons her children to her flag and strikes for her freedom. Having organised and trained her manhood through her secret revolutionary organisation, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and through her open military organisations, the Irish Volunteers and the Irish Citizen Army, having patiently perfected her discipline, having resolutely waited for the right moment to reveal itself, she now seizes the moment. And, supported by her exiled children in America and by gallant allies in Europe, but relying in the first on her own strength, she strikes in full confidence of victory. We declare the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland and to the unfettered control of Irish destinies to be sovereign and indefeasible. The long usurpation of that right by a foreign people and government has not...
Thomas Ash, Terry. 5 days died as a result of force feeding by British authorities. Terence McSweeney, Cork, 74 days. Michael Fitzgerald, Cork, 67 days. Joseph Murphy, Cork, 76 days. Joe Whitty, Wexford. Dennis Barry, Cork, 34 days. Andy Sullivan, Cork, 40 days. Tony Darcy, Galway, 52 days. Sean McNeila, 55 days. Sean McCaughey, Tyrone, 22 days. Michael Gahan, Mayo, 64 days. Frank Stagg, Mayo, 62 days. Bobby Sands, 66 days, Belfast. Frank Hughes, Derry, 59 days. Raymond McCreesh, Southampton, 61 days. Patsy O'Hara, Derry, 61 days. Joe MacDonald, Belfast, 61 days. Martin Hudson, 46 days. Kevin Lynch, Derry, 71 days. Kieran Doherty, Belfast, 73 days. Campbell McElwee, Derry, 62 days. Michael Devine, Derry. And today is the 30th anniversary of Michael Devine.
piles of rubbish and decaying waste food was almost overwhelming. That was when the white, wriggling, crawling maggots made their way out of the rubbish piles in their thousands. I'll never forget that, I said to myself, reflecting on the morning I woke up and my blankets and mattress were a living mass of white maggots. They were in my hair and beard and crawling upon my naked body. They were repulsive and, dare I say it, frightening at first. But like everything else, I had come to terms with them sharing my cell with me. At night, I could hear them actually moving about the floor, disturbing little bits of paper, now and again causing a rustling noise as they headed in the direction of my mattress, where they would finally embed themselves and in the warmth harden into an egg-like cocoon before hatching into flies. They would give off a sharp crack whenever I stood on them in my bare feet in the darkness, squashing them. Needless to say, their end product was a pest and very annoying. Hundreds of fat, bloated flies that clung to the ceiling and walls, continually pestering my naked body day and night, hovering around my face as I tried to sleep, or awakening in panic as I stirred. But the maggots had another use, as I quickly discovered. I soon became so used to them that I would gather them up in my hands off the floor and from the rubbish piles in the corners. There would be thousands of them wriggling and sliding about. Having gathered them together between my palms, I would throw the white wriggling mass out of the window, scattering them over the jet black Tarmacadam yard, and against the black background their white wriggling forms were easily spotted. The wagtails came fluttering about in a frenzy, their quick little legs darting them from one maggot to the next, feasting upon what to them must have been a delicacy. Within 2 or 3 minutes, the yard would be cleared of every single maggot. I suppose it was something to do, to pass the time. Who would believe it if you told them you spent your summer gathering maggots to feed birds?
Is Dalton, Uachtaráin, Republican Sinn Féin Cork, to give the oration here today. And we will continue our programme following that.
Public Tani, a camaradeha, agus a winter a Corky. This year, we mark the 30th anniversary of the deaths and hunger strike of 10 young Irishmen in the H-blocks of Lankesh. The heroism and idealism shown by these otherwise ordinary young Irishmen was anything but ordinary. It was of a magnitude few can match, and indeed we would hope few would be asked to give in their lives. Their deaths made the world sit up and see that here in Western Europe was a small nation still struggling under the yoke of colonialism and imperialism. The background to the 1981 hunger strike lies in the British government's policy of criminalising or attempting to criminalise Ireland's historic struggle for freedom and the determination of Irish Republicans to resist that policy. Fasting was used as a method of protesting injustice, going back as far as pre-Christian Ireland, where it was known as Trusca or Ceolcán. It was detailed in the contemporary civic codes and had specific rules by which it could be used. The fast was often carried out on the doorstep of the home of the offender. As a political weapon, it first came to the fore in the early 20th century. The women's suffrage movement employed hunger strike as a means of protesting their imprisonment, and this was a method of resistance soon adopted by other political activists, most notably in Ireland and in India. And indeed, the first political activist to die on hunger strike was as a result of a hunger strike arising from the 1913 lockout, when James Byrne died shortly after his release from Mountjoy prison. On September 25th, 1917, Tomás Oss became the first Irish Republican to die as a result of hunger strike, whilst being force-fed in Mountjoy prison. As we've heard in the Roll of Honour, which Donald read out, 22 soldiers of the Irish Republic have died in hunger strike in British and Free State prisons and internment camps in the years from 1917 to 1981. Each succeeding generation of Irish Republican prisoners have asserted their status as political prisoners, and in doing so, asserted the political nature of the struggle that they are engaged in. Here in Cork City, we are ever mindful of the fact that its Lord Mayor placed his body on the altar of freedom. Terence McSweeney endured a hunger strike of 74 days, dying in Brixton Prison in London on October 25th, 1920. His death, like that of Bobby Sands 61 years later, McSweeney's sacrifice and death through the spotlight of the world on Britain's continued occupation of Ireland. In a letter to Cathal Brugha, written as he began his hunger strike, McSweeney gave a glimpse of the inner peace and resolution that he felt about the sacrifice he was about to make. And I quote to you the words of McSweeney. "If I die, I know the fruit will exceed the cost 1,000-fold. The thought makes me happy. I thank God for it. Cathal, the pain of Easter week is properly dead at last." Unquote. 4 other sons of County Cork would, like McSweeney, use their bodies as the final weapon of resistance to British rule. We remember today also Michael Fitzgerald, Joseph Murphy, Commandant Dennis Barry and Andy Sullivan. And before I move on, I think it would be remiss of me, standing here in this spot, not to comment on the fact that just 3 months ago, 3 short months ago, 12 weeks, the Queen of England was paraded down here, just past the spot on which we stand. And as Irish Republicans, we were proud to take our position on the opposite bank of the river, on Sullivan's Quay. And I repeat the words I used that day when I said to those who displayed the butcher's apron, the Union Jack across from us here, I say again, shame, shame, shame.
The guitar that I'm holding here today was played by Bobby Sands. It was towards Christmas, I think 1976, and there was a band going to be touring the Cages for Christmas concerts, and Bobby was going to be one of the members of the band, but he had no guitar to practice on, and I had this guitar in with me, and a friend of mine who was also in Cage 11 asked me to lend the guitar to Bobby Sands for a week so that he could practice for the Christmas concert. In the event, I lent him the guitar. In the event the Christmas concerts didn't take place, because before it all happened, we had a protest and we threw the electric guitars over the wire. Along with amplifiers and a few other things as well. But the first song I'm going to sing was written by Bobby Sands. I don't think he wrote it on this guitar, because he probably wrote it much later. It's Back Home in Derry. Oh, I wish I was back home in Derry.